While I was writing a letter to Skylar, I had to put down my pen several times. My mind kept turning away to other thoughts. Aldrich truly loves Rose. Every time I thought about this, my heart ached, and my chest felt heavy. Aldrich was going to banish my brother because he posed a risk to Rose and the baby. He wanted to create the narrative that my brother attacked the Viscount, not the king's baby. If Oscar was charged for the latter, the court would dig and find out that Viscount Rothescue and Rose were closely connected, and in the process, the story of Rose being a runaway slave would spread. That would be something that Aldrich would want to stop before it began. But then what? Would he really allow Oscar to come back if he reflected and repented of his sins? I honestly could not believe it. Why would Aldrich want to banish a man for the sake of an unborn baby, but allow him to return after the baby's birth? Aldrich was trying to keep Oscar away because he was burdensome to Rose. With stormy thoughts in my head, it took 2 hours to finish the 1.5-page letter to Skylar. I encouraged Skylar not to get too frustrated, that I would continue to support her, whether her grades were good or bad. I found I could not even write proper words of comfort, because I myself had too much nervous energy. I felt bitter as I handed the envelope to Countess Eliza. Have this letter delivered to the Magical Academy tomorrow. Afterwards, I paced the room, worrying about Aldrich, Rose, and my brother. It was a long while before I finally left my room. I was not going to spread rumors about Rose's past in my noble social circles, but I was going to keep this hand of cards close to my chest. Whether it was to keep Oscar from being banished or for some other use later on, I knew this secret would come in handy. As I walked down the corridor, a cold wind blew against my back. It was as if it was pushing me to go to Aldrich. I took several deep breaths and went into the Eastern Palace. Because the Eastern Palace was the domain of the king, it was relatively peaceful during the day, and even quieter at night. The sound of my footsteps echoed so loudly in the corridor that I deliberately lifted my heel to make as little sound as possible. On the way to Aldrich's room, I had to pass Rose's room, and I came by something I thought to be impossible. There, staring back at me, was Viscountess Verdi, my former lady-in-waiting, who betrayed me and left to serve Rose. She stood nervously by the door, and her eyes were wide and focused on me. I stopped short, breathing heavily. How could this be? Viscountess Verdi was killed. I stared back at her, unsure of what to make of this impossible situation. Your Majesty. I covered my mouth as if I could take back the noise that I had just made. The spectre of Viscountess Verdi reached its hand out to me. I stared back, unsure of what else to do. Your Majesty. Her voice was so faint that I was initially unsure whether I had heard her or not. She sounded sorrowful, but this was not natural, and I was afraid. I needed to escape. Was I losing my mind? As I began to depart, there appeared to be tears streaming down her translucent cheeks. She seemed to have something to say. Unable to help myself, I looked back, and she was gone. Why did this ghost of my lady-in-waiting leave without saying anything besides calling for me? Was it something she found difficult? I stared, dumbfounded. Perhaps I really was losing my mind. But in the spot where she had just stood, I saw that the door was ajar. It was Rose's room, and there were voices seeping out of it. I stood erect against the stone wall and paid close attention. I could clearly make out the voices of Aldrich and the concubine. But Your Majesty, divorce? Would the Queen's family object to it? For a moment I was so stunned I nearly fainted. I didn't believe that I heard them correctly. Was Aldrich planning to divorce me? It could not be.
Rose was fighting to suppress her mounting anger. She knew how lucky she was that the baby's hair was the same color as her own. Otherwise, Aldrich would have questioned her motives for keeping the lock of silver hair. She flung it into the wastebasket. But she had to face the devastating truth that she was at odds with this child. There was no room for error, and certainly no room for keepsakes. But throwing the hair away did not make her feel any better, and so she shut herself in her bedroom all day, fearing even the most innocuous interactions with palace staff. Various problems pressed in on her at all sides. Something had happened to Viscount Rothescue. Aldrich had discovered the baby's hair, and several people were investigating her past. Everything was so overwhelming and tiring. She wondered how long she would be able to bear it. She was also scared that Aldrich might have realized that the hair was not hers, or that Viscount Rothescue was playing a trick on her. She had not seen him in days, and was beginning to fear that everything she clung to was an illusion. How perilous it was to find comfort in one person's kindness. At this point, she could only tremble in fear. If Aldrich's love and affection cooled, she would lose everything that she had gained without being able to put up any resistance. She was interrupted from these dark thoughts by her maid, Cheryl.
Miss Rose, His Majesty the King is here.
Rose blinked and pulled herself up from the armchair. She was so lost in thought that she had not even realized the maid was there. She thanked the gods that she was considering all of these dangers in her head, and not out loud, as she was wont to do.
Aldrich is here? Yes, miss.
As if on cue, her lover showed up at her door in her time of need.
Why did he not enter my quarters? He wanted a drink. Please come to the parlour room.
Rose hurriedly put up her hair and left the bedroom. Aldrich sat poised in his chair, yet he appeared anxious. When Rose saw such a powerful man feeling anxious, she could not help but feel anxious as well. She approached Aldrich and spoke with more affection in her voice than usual.
Your Majesty.
Cheryl set a plate of mutton, potatoes, and greens in front of them and then left. Aldrich did not seem to notice the food or the maid. In fact, he did not seem to notice anything at all, including Rose. He leaned back against his chair, deep in thought. But he came to his senses when Rose repeatedly called his name.
I waited all day for you, my love.
Aldrich gave her an endearing smile. Despite her day of anxious worrying, Aldrich did not seem mad at her. Rose was genuinely relieved and let out a small chuckle.
Could I pour you a glass of champagne?
Aldrich nodded, and she quickly poured the clear golden liquid into a goblet. He accepted the goblet from her, but he did not drink from it, only rolling the stem back and forth between his fingers.
Your Majesty, share with me what is on your mind.
He did not look angry, but what if he was? A wave of fear swept over Rose again, and she called his name.
Your Majesty, my love.
Rose.
Yes, Your Majesty. I am listening to you. What would you like to discuss?
Aldrich took a sip from his glass and placed it back down on the table.
Please, what is it, my king?
Become the queen for a year.
What?
She thought she had misheard the words he spoke. The words that left Aldrich's mouth were a total reversal of Rose's expectations. Perhaps Aldrich had been listening to what Duke Elegy had said. Instead of feeling joy at the news, terror gripped Rose's heart. As she froze, Aldrich looked at her and sighed, picking up on her apprehension. Well, it might be too burdensome to you. Rose could barely open her mouth, let alone give a satisfying response.
What are you speaking of? What about the Queen, your wife?
My intentions are to divorce Queen Bronwyn.
Divorce?
Rose was overwhelmed by a variety of emotions: relief, happiness, trepidation. Her mouth fell open. Aldrich thought Rose was extremely uncomfortable and thought she had no great desire for the Queen's seat. Rose covered her cheeks with both hands. Aldrich smiled, realizing that Rose was beginning to consider his request. It is only for 1 year, so you will not be too burdened.
Why only 1 year for such an important position?
In 1 year, your baby can officially become a prince or princess. Aldrich gazed at Rose gently and reached out and covered her hand.
Oh!
Rose was overwhelmed with gratitude. She had not expected to be taken care of so thoughtfully. Perhaps her baby would live a good life, after all. If you can bear the position for 1 year, I will never leave you for the rest of my life. Rose's eyes widened. This was an extraordinary opportunity. While Duke Elegy had told Rose to prepare to face the Queen, she was not ready yet, and she knew it. She had just started her education, and although she had a lot of sympathy from the common people, garnering support from the nobles was a different matter. She knew that even those who disliked the Queen would be dismissive of Rose in the position, but the candy offered to her smelled tantalizingly sweet. Even with the schooling Duke Elegy advised her to undergo, it was no use if Aldrich did not divorce the current Queen. Would such an opportunity ever present itself again? Aldrich had said it would be only for a year, but she had not the first clue about laws and state affairs. But if the baby to be born would receive Aldrich's love, if she studied hard and played the role of the Queen well...
But, Your Majesty, divorce? Would not the Queen's family object to it?
Of course they would.
What are you going to do?
I will take care of it, so there will be no need to worry. Rose firmly held Aldrich's hands and closed her eyes. She was scared, but her excitement was greater. She could barely breathe as her heart seemed to stop. For her to be able to rise from slavery into the Queen's seat. Rose.
Yes, Your Majesty.
You only need to study hard and keep your body healthy. I will take care of the rest. You will always be safe with me.
Yes. Yes, Your Majesty.
Aldrich tightly squeezed Rose's scarred hands and leaned close to her face. And do not speak of this to anyone. Do you understand?
I understand. Clear as day.
He rubbed her back comfortingly. He looked down at the meat in front of them, which had gone cold. Is there anything you would prefer to eat?
Oh, no, thank you, Your Majesty. I am lucky to have any food at all.
Aldrich gave her a conspiratorial smile, as if they shared a devious secret. You are going to be the Queen. You can afford to be greedy.
I only need you.
As Rose whispered in a gentle voice, she leaned her head gently against Aldrich's shoulder, and he wrapped his arms around her. After the conversation with Aldrich about becoming queen, Rose was fatigued. She had fallen asleep in Aldrich's arms. Cheryl. please fetch me a soft pillow for her head." In the manner of a gentleman, Aldrich gently positioned the cushion beneath his concubine's head before discreetly departing the room. As Aldrich stepped outside into the corridor, he eyed his surroundings suspiciously. What is that? A curious sensation pervades the air. A familiar fragrance. The essence of the rose bath cherished by the Queen lingers. Cheryl? Cheryl, confused, popped her head out of Rose's quarters, unsure why the king would be beckoning her again. Did the Queen pay a visit? What is happening? The fragrance lingers, and yet she hasn't been here. Search again, Cheryl. Discreetly. I cannot shake this feeling. The Queen might be nearby. Aldrich shook his head, questioning his own sanity, and departed with the belief that Bronwyn had not graced the Eastern Palace with her presence. Progressing down the dimly lit corridor, he reflected on a question Marquise Carlson had asked him earlier that day. Why not divulge your plan to the Queen beforehand? Even if your intention is to eventually reinstate her, she'll be taken aback and wounded by your actions. If I could, I would. Aldrich shook his head, trying to comprehend Bronwyn's formidable pride and her aversion towards Rosa's child. The notion of Bronwyn protecting a child she disdained is one he knows she would not readily accept, even if, deep down, she understood his position. He advanced through the shadows, confusion etched into his expression. Marquise Carlson's words continued to echo. Should I have confided in her? Tension filled the air as Aldrich grappled with the consequences of his decisions.
My vision swam before me, and there was a strange ringing in my ears. I concentrated on moving my feet. Left, right, left, right. Though my legs could barely support me. I had to stop several times and lean against a wall before I finally made it to my room. I sat by a window and recalled what I had heard. Aldrich has promised to make Rose queen. After he divorces me, he would make Rose queen. His friendly voice. Rose's excited voice. Voice. I felt as though I was going mad. My chest ached to the point that breathing was painful. I leaned back, my hand resting on my heart. I had never considered it an option that Aldrich would try to divorce me. It was true that we had not married for love, and we had fought because of Rose in recent times. But did we not have a foundation of friendship that meant anything to him? Any shred of loyalty? What happened to those times when we used to put our heads together and plan to make the country strong? We were a couple. So where in the world did that man go? Was my brother's dislike of Rose and her baby so intimidating to Aldrich? What happened to me if we were divorced? The words of Grand Duke Bjorn came to my mind. I would crumble without the crown. I thought it was ridiculous at the time, but now I had to face a cruel reality in which this was a very real possibility. I buried my face into my hands. After a while in this safe position, I managed to rise and head for the study. I fingered the leather-bound books on the shelves and chose one on the brief history of the Eastern Empire and brought it to my room to scour it. A commoner concubine. Queen. I studied the book back to front, then put it down in dismay. There was no case where a king took a commoner concubine as his first marriage. However, there had been occasions when a commoner became queen after the original died or was ousted. It was rare, but there was precedent. What will become of me now? I closed the book, put it on the table, and took a deep breath. I did not know how long I remained in that state, and when I opened my eyes again, a red dawn was glowing through my curtains. My eyes stared at the view, but everything felt hopeless. My brain and my body did not feel connected. No matter how hard I worked, however hard I tried, love was the only great thing in the end. The romantic words of minstrels rang true, and the central driving force of the world was love. Because of Aldrich's and Rose's passion for each other, everything I had was taken away. But who will love me? At that moment, my solitude was interrupted. "Oh my God, Your Majesty!" Countess Eliza, who came in with a maid to prepare me for a bath, cried out in dismay when she saw my pallid complexion. She ordered the maid to fill up the bathtub, and then hurriedly approached me. "Did something happen, Your Majesty?" I stared at her with heavy eyelids. She looked like a silhouette of white after I had gazed at the sun for a long time. Oh my word. I knew I was in a bad state. Countess Eliza looked around, and she became further confused when she found the history book on my desk. It was strange for someone to become depressed after reading up on history. By any chance, does it have to do with Lord Oscar? Countess Eliza looked at me with a concerned, furrowed brow. Yes. I looked up from my seat, taking note of Countess Eliza's bewildered expression. I realized that was not the time for me to be like this, and I couldn't allow myself to be sorrowful, even if I was soon to be ousted. Even if Aldrich was considering divorcing me, it would not be today, and I had no choice in the matter anyway. There was no queen who could go against the king's wishes, no matter if she came from the greatest family, or if she was a terrifying queen, or even if she gave birth to a great successor. The best I could do was stall the trial. Most importantly, I had to come up with a way to survive afterwards. Today, please give me a pink dress. I took a quick bath and asked Countess Eliza to make me look as bright as possible. She masked my sunken eyes with makeup and clothed me with a beautiful pink dress to throw off the gloomy atmosphere. Aldrich may not know that I heard his conversation, but he was probably thinking of me. He probably whispered his promises to Rose all night. I did not want to show him that I was defeated. Meanwhile, Countess Eliza helped me select my jewellery. Then she informed me that she would send my letter to Skylar by 11 o'clock that morning. After I listened to her, I decided it would be better to see Skylar in person instead. Moreover, my heart had been somewhere else when I wrote that letter, so my true feelings were not expressed. Do not post a letter, I will go to see her myself. I found myself in the throne room, where I was expected. I entered as calmly as possible. However, as soon as I approached my throne and saw Aldrich, my heart started to pound again. The shocking news I heard yesterday, of Aldrich promising his love to Rose after throwing me away, rushed into my head once more. If Aldrich was set on divorcing me, I wondered how he would treat me today.
Bright colours look good on you, as do most things.
Aldrich spoke to me as he usually did. Because of that, I was able to feign my expected composure. Being in the same room as him still unsettled me, but at least I could outwardly project calm in front of him. Thank you for the compliment. I ignored the hand he held out for me and walked up to my seat.
Did you not see my hand?
I did not.
Is this because of your brother?
I just want to get some air.
Shall we go for a walk?
No, I'm going to Wirral to see Skylar.
Wirral? When? Perhaps I can join you.
Do not worry, I plan to go alone. You will have all the time in the world for your plans. Aldrich stared at me suspiciously. He knew I was smart. He knew I was on to him.
The Queen said she was planning to go to Wirral immediately, and Aldrich had been unable to catch her when she left the throne room. He was frustrated that she had rejected his offer to accompany her, but his mind could not linger on that. In fact, he would take advantage of the Queen's absence and take care of some other matters, ones she may not find favourable. He barked at one of his servants. "Where is Viscount Rothescue?" "He's receiving treatment in the Southern Palace." "Is he incapacitated?" "No." "Very well. Bring him to me." A few moments later, Viscount Rothescue entered nervously, bowing low. He walked with a limp, and his injury made him appear absolutely pathetic in the king's eyes. "Viscount Rothescue, I've been hearing interesting things about your association with Rose." Beads of sweat began to form on the Viscount's forehead.
"Your Majesty, I assure you, my involvement is purely for the welfare of Miss Rose and her child."
"Cut the theatrics, Viscount. I know about your dealings with Oscar and your attempts to conceal Rose's past." Viscount Rothescue paled, realizing the gravity of the situation.
"Your Majesty, I beg your mercy. I never intended any harm. It was a desperate measure to protect Rose and the child."
Protecting Rose or hiding something more sinister? Speak the truth.
"I swear, Your Majesty, it was only to shield her from scandal."
Aldrich's gaze hardened. "So you were blackmailing Rose in return for hiding her baby?"
"No, Your Majesty."
"Then why would Rose keep looking after you?" "She loathed you to the point of running away." Viscount Rothescue trembled, realizing he was cornered.
"Miss Rose keeps in touch with me because I am raising her baby. I wanted to be helpful to her, of course. But blackmail? It was nothing of the sort. Our relationship is like, well, it is more like a deal."
Aldrich's eyes narrowed, studying the Viscount closely. "A deal? You underestimate my intelligence, Viscount."
"Your Majesty, I beg you to understand. I only sought to protect her secret."
"Where is Rose's slave trade certificate?"
What?"
"You told Oscar about it."
"Your Majesty, I—"
"Speak!"
"I left the certificate with the slave registry, and it is likely Lord Oscar went there to take it."
Aldrich's demeanour remained stern as Viscount Rothescue, now fully aware of the jeopardy he was in, prostrated himself on the ground. "You have entangled yourself in a web of deceit, Viscount. Beware the consequences." After the intense meeting with Viscount Rothescue, Aldrich visited Oscar personally at the Troby mansion. Oscar remained locked in his room. Although not allowed to leave, he was served meals, and the room was furnished with a bathroom. Aldrich did not intend to engage in prolonged conversation, and immediately got to the point. Although Aldrich had known Oscar since childhood, their relationship had never been amicable. Oscar Troby.
Ah, the mighty king graces me with his presence. What brings you here, your majesty?
Your audacity knows no bounds, Oscar. It is time for you to face the consequences of your actions. You are hereby banished from Elisaria. Oscar did not look surprised at Aldrich's proclamation, responding in cold sarcasm.
Consequences? Oh, do enlighten me, king. Is this about the charade your little plaything orchestrated?
You dare to mock the mother of my child! Your treachery will not go unpunished.
Treachery? I simply played my small part in this grand drama of yours.
Aldrich, growing impatient, leaned in with a steely gaze. Enough of your insolence. Where is Rosa's slave certificate?
Ah, the coveted piece of parchment. One of your knights snatched it from me.
Enough of your games, Oscar. I know you are behind this chaos.
Chaos, you say? I merely exposed the truth that your precious prey sought to conceal.
Your actions have consequences, Oscar. This banishment is just the beginning.
Oh, how magnanimous of you, your majesty! I am sure the people will agree.
Aldrich, finally losing his patience once and for all, slammed his fist on the table. I will have Marquise Carlson search this place thoroughly.
Feel free, king, but I assure you, you will not find what you're looking for.
The city of Wyrule was bright and bustling with activity. Young scholars were passing me by with bags of research equipment. I watched a tall woman, lost in thought, twiddling her thumbs absent-mindedly, the golden trail following her fingers wherever they went. Young students were hugging thick textbooks to their chests, speaking in a jargon that made me miss my childhood. My knights and I walked through the town slowly, taking it all in as we made our way to the task at hand. As we passed the restaurant where I dined with King Henry, my footsteps stopped suddenly. It had been several months since we had seen each other, and my gaze lingered on the table where we once sat. I remembered how chaotic I thought everything was back then. But compared to my brother's banishment, that could now be considered peaceful. I told myself that the sense of longing I felt was instead a sense of hunger, and decided to enter the restaurant. As I sought a table for my knights and myself, I did a double take. Could my eyes be playing tricks on me again, the way they did when I thought I saw Viscountess Verdi in the Eastern Palace? I rubbed my eyes. King Henry? I looked at the man with soft blonde hair, a strong jawline, and unmistakable violet eyes, studying the menu as if he were going to be tested on it. He looked up, surprised.
Your Majesty.
It really is you.
It was the last time I checked. You look...
His words trailed off as he looked at me with such intensity that even my knights had to look away. May I join you?
Of course.
I instructed my knights to sit elsewhere, and Henry pulled the chair out for me. As he spoke next, he leaned forward and whispered gently into my ear. The warmth of his cheek sent a glow through my entire body, and the vibrations of his words created a tingling sensation on my neck. His whispers were like drops of sugar.
You have no idea how thrilled I am.
I am surprised as well. Apologies, Your Majesty, I just remembered. King Henry is now a king.
Please, just call me Henry. I did not realize you were here. What brings you to Wirral?
Well, suddenly, before I could answer, I became aware of how hungry I was. He looked down at what was in front of him, just one glass of ale, and as if reading my mind, flagged a server. My mouth salivated as he requested porridge, roasted meats, grilled haddock, mutton pie, various cheeses, and fruit with honey. Midway through his order, I realized that he was ordering the same items that we had shared the last time we were here.
Will that suffice?
I believe it will. Once the food was on its way, he turned to me with a serious look in his eye.
In truth, I snuck out to avoid all the nagging from the courtiers.
You came here secretly?
No one is more talented at escaping the royal family than I am.
That sounds risky.
Sometimes the most amazing and wonderful things happen when one takes risks, like seeing you here today.
My heart warmed that he chose to describe our meeting this way. Whether his words were empty and I was being delusional, or he was as sincere as he seemed, it was impossible to deny the delight that was filling my body with his presence and words.
I missed you.
My eyes rounded in surprise. His straightforward nature never ceased to amaze me.
The days I spent with you, Your Majesty, were my last days as a free prince.
I gave him a knowing nod as I considered the difficult transition he was facing. I recalled the time when I first took the throne, despite the fact that I shadowed the former queen and was given extensive education. Once I was coronated, everything seemed strange and frightening. While I was given the tools to succeed in the position, I lived in fear that my choices would bring harm to my people. Henry was likely struggling with the same problem. It is all right, Henry. You will be a brilliant king.
That is not the cause of my distress.
No?
I really should not continue to burden you with such personal affairs. I fear if I begin to open myself up to you, I will never stop.
Why would you stop? There is no need.
Thank you, Your Majesty. But it is too difficult. I can manage this alone. It is something that I cannot ask of you.
The waiter arrived and placed the array of delicacies in front of us. Henry and I quietly thanked him, without breaking eye contact the whole time. My mind raced in exhilaration and curiosity of what was on his mind. I understood the need to hold back. It was taking everything in my power not to seek his counsel on my impending divorce. When the waiter finally left, we spoke candidly.
As you may have gathered, it is a personal matter that's on my mind. It is not related to work.
He hesitated, embarrassed, and his expression shifted. He looked as if he was finally ready to confess something he'd been hiding.
My people keep asking me to choose a queen.
Is there really no young woman betrothed to you yet? I was chosen as the future queen as a child, so it was foreign to me that a grown man as king was left without a preordained wife. He gave me a furtive glance and shrugged.
I was not the crown prince, so fortunately I was free from that problem. Yet I need a queen who can handle state affairs as soon as she ascends the throne. No matter how clever one can be, it is difficult to run a nation without a crown princess.
I nodded, listening intently. It was impossible not to hang on his every word. Images of myself, standing beside him, filled my mind, yet I fought those silly notions away.
Besides, after knowing you, my standards have become higher.
Thank you.
It is not just a compliment, it is true. I cannot accept a queen unless she's like you. Really, sometimes I think, if you were the Queen of the West, the people would love you.
He gripped his teacup and stared into my eyes. The irony of the situation did not escape me. Henry was praising my ruling abilities, while Aldrich was seeking a divorce. I turned bitter at the thought. Henry's words, both intriguing and laughable, lingered in the air as we continued the meal. I offered Henry a smile, but it seemed he could perceive my discontent.
Majesty, you don't look well. Has something happened?
No, I'm fine.
Your Majesty, I do not want to pry, since you clearly are not ready to speak of what ails you, but I must profess, my words are no mere flattery. I speak earnestly.
Truly?
I will never be able to take a queen unless she mirrors your qualities. It makes me fear for the future of the Celestial Isles. How can I rule without you?
Rule without me?
Yes, Your Majesty. There is but one true queen, and I wish you were mine.
I stared at him, and his cheeks flushed red, but he did not turn away from my gaze. I could feel the heat emanating from his eyes. Embarrassed, I sipped a spoonful of soup. I could still feel his eyes on me, and I smiled half-jokingly at him. And what if I accepted? His expression radiated like the sun, and it took a moment for him to make any sound at all.
That would be extraordinary.
You are jesting, of course.
I am not. If you were willing, I would take you as my queen immediately.
Really?
I swear on my life.
You pour honey on my wounded heart. Thank you, Henry.
I speak only the truth as I perceive it.
Both smiling with our shared secret, we continued our meal.
I forget myself. What brings you here, Majesty? I doubt this visit is of an official nature.
One of my sponsored students attends the Magical Academy. She is a gifted child. I ventured here to visit her.
Ah, to offer your support?
Rather my solace.
For what?
I have received the unfortunate news that her magical powers are waning. The fact that Sorcerer's power was declining was not something I could hide. Henry, in particular, was already a wizard himself and had attended the academy, so he likely knew of the phenomena. His surprise only lasted a moment.
I am so sorry to hear that. It must not be easy, especially for a child.
Indeed. Well, it is time for me to meet with Dean Edgar to discuss the situation. I must leave.
May I join you? I know Dean Edgar well.
I would love that. Together, we walked to Dean Edgar's office. It was special beyond words to be in stride with him once more.
Here is Schuyler's latest report, Your Majesty. As you can see, she was excelling at first, but has been on a steady decline since. The only grade that remains adequate is her theory class. She is having a hard time.
It is worse than I realized. Dean Edgar gave me a regretful sigh and looked at me like there was more I should know. What else?
Yesterday she fainted from overtraining.
My God, that's terrible. Is she all right now?
Her health is stable, but after she regained consciousness, her magic was completely gone. She is under a lot of pressure.
Perhaps her teachers are being too hard on her. They should not pressure her when she is already struggling.
The problem is you, Your Majesty.
What do you mean?
She says that she would rather die than disappoint you.
I entered Schuyler's room slowly. Her having instructed Henry to wait outside for me. I was filled with anxiety. Would my visit cause Kyla more trouble and pressure, or less? She seemed to be stressed out whether I was present or not, so I figured I might as well try to ease her troubles head-on. The child needed someone to support her during this hardship. The poor child was pacing the room when I entered. She was startled upon my entrance. "Your Majesty!" The girl had barely greeted me before she burst into tears. My heart ached. "Oh, my dear Skylar, please know that your magical ability is valuable, but the loss of it does not make you any less valuable to me. You cannot plan for life's countless surprises. So now you must change course. It is difficult, but it is doable, and it will make you stronger. Whether you become a sorcerer or not, you will remain my precious Skylar, and I will continue to support you. So do not overwork your body, all right? I hope to devote my life to you, to live for Her Majesty. Skylar, I am pleased to know you just as you are. You must live for yourself. It is my lifelong purpose to be useful to Her Majesty. I have nothing to offer but magic, so I must be a sorcerer for the Queen. With the disappearance of my abilities, it is as though my value as a person is gone." Her conversation continued on in this way, and my comforting words seemed to have no use for the distressed girl. All I could do was offer my friendship, and then take my leave. What I thought would be a short, pleasant visit had turned into something entirely unexpected. I left Kyla's room emotionally exhausted. What I said to her was all too true. You really could not plan for life's many surprises. The purpose of my visit to the academy was complete, but something kept me on the grounds. I simply was not ready to leave. Henry and I decided to walk for a while. I felt a knot in my stomach when I realized I didn't know when I would see him next. Would it be months again? Years? Would we ever see each other again at all? My loyal knights handed me and Henry academy robes to don, so that no one would see us together, allowing us to operate freely. This was not something we had ever the opportunity to do outside of our letters. I spoke to him candidly, vulnerably. It appears it would have been better if I had not come at all. I did not seem to be of much comfort to Skylar.
That is not true.
For her, magic isn't just an ability.
Yes, I could not help but overhear. That much is clear.
I can understand how she felt.
What do you mean, Your Majesty?
My value and usefulness come from being queen. If my crown was taken away, I doubt that any value would remain. Henry looked completely stunned, his mouth slightly agape. He had not expected such vulnerability.
Is it true you do not see the immense value that you exude?
I believe you think too highly of my character outside of my position.
I disagree. Your mind has been poisoned by a husband who does not value you.
It certainly was painful when Aldrich brought Rose to the palace and came to despise me. But I could remain strong because I was queen. It was my power. But it will all soon be gone.
Why are you thinking about how it would feel to lose the throne?
I tried to answer him, but realized that I was unable to speak. I looked down at my ivory hands and saw they were trembling.
What's going on, Your Majesty?
I tried to say that I was all right, but my lips shook and my voice stopped. My shuddering did not abate.
What is going on? What is happening to you? Your Majesty! Bronwyn!
He cupped my face with both of his large hands. As soon as they touched my skin, warmth spread through my body and the terrible feeling subsided a little. Seeing the fearful look in his eye helped me calm down as well. He truly cared for me. My shaking finally subsided. I looked up at him tenderly. "Do you really want me to be your queen?" My lips trembled as I spoke. He stooped down to my height to look me directly in the eye.
"I want it more than you could ever know."
"Then I will be your queen." It felt like nothing could break our gaze. I traced his fingertips with mine. And if logic had not overcome me at that last moment, I would have kissed his soft lips.
"If you would be my queen, I would be the happiest man in the world. I will do my best to make you not only the happiest woman in the world, but also the happiest person."
His eyes began glistening, and the corners of his mouth stretched into the widest smile I had ever seen. "I promise you, I will make a good queen, not only for you but for the people of the Celestial Isles. I vow it." I was committed to this promise, but I could not deny that anxiety was racing through my mind. What would people think? It could appear too calculating that I already found a king to remarry before my actual divorce. Yet looking at it another way, it was Aldrich who found a remarriage partner first. "I promise you." Henry gripped my hand tightly. My words meant something to him, that much was clear. I continued, hoping to put him even more at ease. "And I will never interfere if you accept another woman to love as your concubine." At that moment, Henry's expression shifted so quickly. It seemed like the joy disappeared from his face. He stared at me, eyes wide, in shock. "Henry, what's wrong? Have I said something?" What had I done? Why on earth did I bring up the topic of concubines before we were even married? Henry looked like he would fall over in sheer astonishment, and I hurriedly tried to amend my words. Although I wanted to remedy the situation, my offer to him was true. If Henry took a concubine for himself, I would be prepared this time. It was no secret that, historically, the majority of emperors and kings had concubines. Henry's brother had several lovers himself. The few that did not have any were usually not married in the first place. I once thought that if there was an emperor that didn't take another concubine, it would be Aldrich. But that assumption proved to be devastatingly wrong. Could Henry be different? Yes, I supposed so. But I did not want to be taken by surprise again. While Henry was not as much of a playboy as the rumors suggested, it was clear that he lived a life of freedom, and I did not want to be a blockade to this life he wanted to live. This arrangement would allow us both to be free, and more importantly, happy. He gave me a forced smile.
"Concubine?"
"Just, if it were the case, as I know firsthand, it is something that can happen unexpectedly."
"Majesty, if you do not mind, would you let me know the details? I wonder why you suddenly offered me a political marriage."
How quickly joy could turn to anxiety. I realized I was still holding Henry's hand, and I quickly let go. It was as if whatever drug we were on had suddenly worn off.
"Of course, whatever the reason is, I am pleased with your decision. I will never persuade you to reconsider, but I am curious about what led to it."
"Thank you for your unconditional acceptance."
"You do realize if you are to be my queen, then we will be married. We will be husband and wife."
In an act of embarrassment, Henry began to fan his face. He was clearly bashful at the words husband and wife, and his cheeks seemed stained red. He was like a schoolboy, and I felt butterflies fluttering in my stomach. "I think we are both feeling better now."
"You are correct. But I must know why. Why do you suddenly want this?"
We were interrupted suddenly by a servant sent by Dean Edgar.
"My apologies, Your Majesty." You have been gone for a long time, and we were worried when we did not hear from you."
Henry glanced up at the sun, which was already low in the sky. Indeed, time had flown by much faster than we had expected. Henry and I shared a brief smile, knowing that we had similar thoughts. Yet royal duty called, and it was time to leave our fantasies behind for the time being. "Very well, let's go back." Before Henry and I parted ways, I mouthed something to him. "Write me a letter."
The moment Bronwyn glanced at Henry and mouthed the word letter, he felt as if his knees would give way beneath him. Once she was gone, he staggered over to a pillar and leaned against it for support. He could not believe what had just happened. "She will be my queen." He covered his mouth with one hand and thumped his head against the pillar in disbelief. He was proposed to. Bronwyn, who he was willing to have at any cost, proposed marriage to him directly. This would be enough to satisfy the noble's impatience and Haxon's incessant nagging. Several passers-by looked strangely at Henry as he grinned wildly to himself alone. He continued on in a joyous gait. The city of Wirral had never looked so beautiful. But soon, as tends to happen with a curious and sharp mind, he began to think about the other side of the coin. Often things were not as promising as they seemed, and his excitement transitioned into fear. The happiness of marriage is tainted with a dark shadow. Is this a marriage of convenience? The Queen spoke of concubines and a promise to not interfere. I know not what Queen Bronwyn is going through, or why she has chosen to become my queen. But I do know that she made no mention of love. Henry looked down at the ground, and the passers-by began whispering to themselves, "What is wrong with the king?" Henry stood up and forced a smile. "What does it matter?" he muttered to himself. Bronwyn would be his. Whether it was for love or for power, she would be his.
As I journeyed back to the Imperial Palace, the pact I had forged with Henry weighed heavily on my mind. He had agreed to grant me the position of queen in exchange for my wealth of experience in governance. Yet, in the solitude of my carriage, doubts began to gnaw at my resolve. Was he reconsidering our arrangement? The notion that this agreement, while initially welcomed, might now seem a loss to him, troubled me deeply. For a man of Henry's reputation, known for his dalliances, aligning himself with me could ignite a scandal that would ripple through many kingdoms. His transformation from a frivolous prince to a dignified monarch would be marred by such an alliance. Moreover, marriages between foreign monarchs typically serve to forge political alliances, a benefit I could scarcely offer post-divorce from Aldrich. My family, prestigious though it was for producing a queen, held little sway in the domestic policies of the Celestial Isles. If he remains committed to our agreement, I must simply strive to be the best ally I can be. My cool judgment could be the perfect counterbalance to Henry's more free-spirited reputation. I could leverage my experience as a queen to bolster his rule. An unexpected thought sparked in my mind. Rhett. Grand Duke Bjorn had mentioned seeking diplomatic partners. Perhaps a connection between the Celestial Isles and Rhett could be fostered. But as the carriage drew to a halt, I realized I was getting ahead of myself. I freshened up my appearance, my thoughts swirling with uncertainty. A revelation struck me like a bolt. leaving me momentarily disoriented. If Henry's affections were to wane after our marriage, it wouldn't be as heart-wrenching as my situation with Aldrich was. When the guard came to assist me, he noticed my unsteady demeanour.
Your Majesty! Are you all right?
I steadied myself on his arm, forcing a smile. I assured him, though my mind was still reeling from this realization. Yes, I'm fine, thank you. As I walked through the corridors of the palace, acknowledging the greetings of courtiers, a hollow feeling enveloped me. The truth I had just uncovered about myself was unsettling. I still harboured deep feelings for Aldrich. Is it love, or the remnants of a long-standing friendship? I couldn't tell. But it was clear that my affection for him was far greater than I had ever admitted. Yet acknowledging these feelings changed nothing. I had no intention of remaining with Aldrich simply because of my affection for him. My path lay forward, with decisions to be made and a future to shape, regardless of where my heart might secretly yearn to be. When I arrived back at the palace, I returned to my chambers. My ladies-in-waiting, Laura and Eliza, came rushing in to see me. Your Majesty, you're back. Your Majesty, I regret to tell you that the King has exiled Lord Oscar. Has there been any word on where Oscar might be? I am unsure, Your Majesty. It all transpired so abruptly. Countess Eliza, her eyes brimming with tears, conveyed the news, while Laura paced the room restlessly. I sank into an armchair, a mixture of resignation and disbelief washing over me. The news that Aldrich had exiled my brother struck me like a blow, deepening the chasm of pain and loneliness within me. And the burning question of whether Aldrich harboured any affection for me anymore still gnawed at my heart. I anticipated this exile, but for it to happen with such haste... It seems the King awaited your departure from the palace, Your Majesty. Unable to fully grasp the reality of Aldrich banishing my brother, I closed my eyes, seeking solace in the darkness behind my lids. Shall we send support to Lord Oscar? Money and letters, perhaps? Yes, we should. Immediately. As I reached for the drawer, I froze. A fine dusting of silvery makeup powder lay between the gap of the drawer, a subtle sign of intrusion. I had left this trap before departing for Wirral, a precaution against prying eyes. Your Majesty, is something amiss? Discreetly, I wiped the powder from my fingers, masking my growing suspicion. Laura, Eliza, has anyone entered my chambers during my absence? Not that I know of, Your Majesty. The ladies-in-waiting took leave, Your Majesty. Stepping out into the hall, I posed the same question to the guards. Have you remained here while I was gone?
Yes, Your Majesty.
Has anyone unusual entered my chambers?
Only the regular maids, Your Majesty.
I doubt it was them, I thought, troubled. I found evidence of someone rummaging through my belongings. The news caused a stir among my attendants and guards. One of the guards then remembered an unusual occurrence.
Your Majesty, there was a collective summons for the palace guards a few days ago. We were all called away in sequence.
A collective summons?
Yes, each palace guard was called away in order.
Aldrich's image flashed in my mind, igniting a wave of unease. Hastily, I returned to my room, my thoughts racing. If the guard commander was involved, it was possible that he had taken the letters from Henry, hidden in my room. Aldrich, in his quest to secure a divorce, would stop at nothing to gain leverage over me. The possibility that he would use these letters against me cast a shadow of my heart, fueling a blend of fear and determination. That evening, despite the weariness from my journey and the turmoil swirling in my heart, I resolved to dine with King Aldrich. Foregoing the opportunity to excuse myself due to fatigue, I prepared hastily and made my way to the Eastern Palace. Upon my arrival, Aldrich greeted me with a smile, one that betrayed no hint of the search that had likely transpired in my chambers during my absence. I knew I couldn't afford to let my guard down around him. He had confided in Rose his plans to divorce me, yet maintained a calm facade in my presence. I was all too aware that I wasn't the only one skilled in masking my emotions.
How was your journey to Wirral, Bronwyn?
I visited Dean Edgar and Skylar at the academy.
And how is Skylar? Is she doing well?
She's struggling with a loss of her powers.
Ah, has she lost her magic completely?
Yes, it was entirely gone upon my arrival.
That must be very hard on her.
Yes, she feels worthless without her powers. Skylar's plight weighs heavily on my heart.
And what if she were to attend a regular academy, with some support?
I considered his suggestion. Skylar, a child who had nearly become a mage, now faced the prospect of joining a regular academy. A challenging transition given the divide between the nobles and commoners in such institutions. I will consider that if it's what Skylar desires, but I have my reservations. Aldrich nodded.
It's a difficult situation, indeed. What's her current status at the Magical Academy?
We revised her schedule to focus more on theoretical studies. The scholars are also researching ways to restore her magical abilities.
They are making her a subject of research study.
Skylar agreed to it.
She's just a child. Shouldn't you, as the Queen, protect her from such decisions?
The best course for her mental wellness was considered. Ultimately, it's for Skylar to decide her path, not us. Aldrich's eyes flickered with emotion, his grip tightening around his goblet. After a tense moment, he averted his gaze. Seizing the moment, I posed the question that had been haunting me. Did you search my room while I was away? He flinched slightly at my directness. Instead of responding, he carefully continued his meal and countered with his own question.
Why do you ask? Are you hiding something from me?
No, I am not the one who hides things from you. He knew immediately who I was referring to. Rose. The fleeting glimpse of vulnerability I had seen in Aldrich vanished as quickly as it had appeared. He snorted disdainfully, stood up abruptly, and walked off. I continued my meal in silence, watching as he returned, bearing a small box devoid of its lid. With a swift motion, he upended the box, scattering its contents across the table. My heart sank as I recognized them instantly. They were the letters I had exchanged with Henry. Aldrich had indeed rummaged through my room and taken them.
Hiding nothing, you say?
Yes. It wasn't necessary to tell you. They do not concern you.
Not necessary.
You still have terrible table manners. I'm glad she puts up with it.
You exchanged private letters with the womanizer king. You didn't think to inform your husband.
When Miss Rose takes etiquette lessons, you can sit side by side together. Aldrich, seething, gulped down his water. Meanwhile, I began to collect the soiled scraps of our correspondence, stained with food and sauce. We hadn't exchanged many letters, but each one was precious to me. As I reached for the fourth letter, Aldrich's hand slammed down, snatching it away. He gathered the remaining letters hastily, placing a candlestick beside them. And then he held the end of one letter to the flame. My glare was furious. What are you doing?
What does it look like, Bronwyn? I'm burning them.
He proceeded to burn each letter in turn, tossing the charred remains aside.
So you're the secret correspondent Henry was looking for. It was you all along, wasn't it?
Why ask when you already know the answer?
Did you enjoy conniving with him and making Rose look like a liar?
Aldrich continued to burn the letters, his expression grim. I forced a laugh. Oh, please. Rose lied about that all on her own.
Rose's behavior is no laughing matter. You do not have the right to mock her.
I merely pointed out the truth, that she lied.
If you truly cared about me, you would have approached me discreetly or advised Rose to stay silent since you knew the truth.
I realized then that reasoning with Aldrich was futile. He was set on removing me to elevate Rose to the throne. In his eyes, I was the villain regardless of my actions. I rose from my chair, with as much dignity as I could muster. My appetite is ruined. I can't eat this anymore.
I'm not finished.
Aldrich attempted to block my way.
I'll consider your words.
What does it matter? You'll blame me anyway, right? Aldrich stepped closer, locking his eyes with mine.
You probably used messenger birds for the letters. Not anymore. I will order the guards to shoot down any birds that approach your chambers.
Oh, what a strong king you are, shooting at messenger birds. I fail to see why my correspondence concerns you at this point. You are indeed not the Aldrich I fell in love with.
I am still your husband.
But you are not my lover, are you?
What did you say?
Without waiting for a further reply, I turned and left the room. I realized that my affection for him now seemed futile. Aldrich had become unrecognizable when it came to matters involving Rose. As I walked away, my eyes brimmed with hot tears, but the cool air outside the palace brought some relief, quelling the tears before they could fall. Perhaps I had grown accustomed to such betrayals, or maybe I had been prepared for them all along. Shaking off my confusion, I returned to the Western Palace with renewed focus. Eliza, bring me a blue cloth. A blue cloth, Your Majesty? Yes, Aldrich has threatened to shoot down any birds approaching my room. Blue is the universal colour of danger. I want to warn them and try to prevent any harm to the birds. Please, as quickly as possible. Right away, Your Majesty. Wait. Yes, Your Majesty. Bring a red cloth, not blue. In the Celestial Isles, red is the symbol of danger. Majesty, though intelligent, is still a bird. If he's been trained in the traditions of the West, he will recognize a red flag as a signal to stay away. My first priority now is to ensure his safety. As Countess Eliza retrieved the red cloth, a question lingered in my mind about Aldrich. Why would he search my room for evidence to use against me in a divorce, only to burn it himself?